Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul. I am a nerd, and you are lucky enough to be here for the May 2018 Tabs3 virtual user group meeting. You're not in the wrong place. I'm just a little confused. I'm ahead of myself. You're lucky enough to be here for the May 2018 Tabs3 virtual user group meeting. Okay, now everybody's laughing at me. First it was just Mary Jo snickering, but now everybody's laughing. Today we are talking about the support log, which Mary Jo is going to talk about, and how to make sure you're installed locally and why that's important, and that's going to be my topic. But first, two things to talk about before we even get into the preamble. Version 16 is being sunsetted. This is the last time we're going to mention it in this virtual user group meeting before it actually is sunsetted, because it will be sunsetted on June 1st. That means if you're currently operating in version 16, it will go out of support. You may be on maintenance and just be somebody who wants to stay on a version that they like. That's fine. Then you are entitled at no additional cost to go get version 17 or 18 or even get in pre-release for version 19. But if you stay on version 16, you will not be able to get support. And the longer you stay there, the harder it will be to get out of it, because the routines to transfer your data from one to the other will stop being supported as well. So that's my last warning for the people in the Tabs3 virtual user group meeting. See, I really do know where I am. And while we're talking about it, version 19 has been in pre-release for about a month. We've got, half a dozen clients that are using it. All of them love it. And so if you would like to try version 19 before it's actually released to the general public, all you need to do is send me a quick email. That's paul.purdue, like the school, not the chicken, P-U-R-D-U-E, paul.purdue@attorneycomputersystems.com. We will make sure that you have everything you need to get approved to be on pre-release, and even help you install it if you need help getting it set up. Without any further ado, I'm going to press a series of magic buttons here that will take us to a point where Mary Jo can talk about the support log. And Mary Jo, give me just a sec, because I didn't get us into an NFR copy of the software, so let me do that. Yeah, okay. You can come in and tell lawyer jokes while I'm doing this, Mary Jo.
I know no lawyer jokes. That's you, Paul. But I do know where I am and what date it is. So
And so taking us into the Practice Master NFR is going to demonstrate once again that I don't know which virtual user group meeting I'm in. Is that what you're telling me?
No.
So there we are.
I do see that you are in version 19, but that's okay.
Oh, that's ooh, look at that. So that's version 19.
You get a sneak preview
we get a sneak peek.
Version 19. Ooh,
ooh, ah.
We will be talking more about this in the future, but
yes.
This is our version 19, so just keep that in mind. Your screen may look a little different, but where we're going to go is going to be the same. So I'm going to talk about the support log and where you can go to see which users have done a variety of different functions, whether it was who reset users, who updated statements, who unbilled statements, who changed the client file, who deleted records, things like that. And so that can be very important when you're tracking something that happened or went wrong, or when something went right. Doesn't matter. So in either whatever program you are in, it doesn't matter. You are going to go up to View. So we're on the toolbar at the top. And when we click on View, we have log files. And once we get into this log file dropdown, we're going to the support log today. We're going to talk about that. So when I click on that, it's going to open up the options that I have for the support log. Now, this looks very short and sweet, but what you can do is you can narrow a date range. So maybe you know what date or a range of dates that something happened and you want to look at it. I want to know who updated statements in the month of April, or whatever that could be. You could narrow this down to a specific month, year, quarter, whatever that would be. You then can also narrow this down by user. I could say a specific user that I think may have done something. I want to know all the times that Cheryl updated statements, or that, whoever, Jennifer, did this or that. You can pick and choose either one or multiple users that you want to check to see if they have done something. I'm going to leave them open for now. And if I select nothing and I just leave it on all, that will just give me all users. The next option here that we have is the features that you can look at. And so you can leave it at all. I want to see if so-and-so did everything. What did they do in the system? But most often what you're going to do is you're going to restrict this to something that you want to see. And I'm going to quickly just go through some of the things that you can check here. So you can see who has advanced and when the last time the advanced current reporting month happened. And I'm leaving my date range open so I can see everything, but you, again, may restrict that. You can see who's ran the archive file integrity check, who has auto-synced tabs in Practice Master, who backed up last and when, or in the time range, how many people backed up the data, who changed beginning reporting month. You can see who's changed the key type. Client file information is pretty broad. That's going to tell you whether or not somebody has added, changed, deleted a client record. It will also tell you anything in that file, in the client file, that's been changed. Somebody changed a timekeeper, somebody changed some different information, but it's not going to be specific. It's not going to say this person changed a timekeeper. It's going to say this person changed the client information file. So it may tell them that it's been changed, but not exactly what they have changed, but it includes everything in that client file. So be careful with that. You're not going to get too specific on it, but you will be able to see if somebody added, changed, deleted it. Also, who ran the data file integrity check, who's ran final statements, who installed some updates, or logged off users, or ran payment adjustments. These are all important things when we're trying to figure out something that has happened in our system. Reindexing files, renaming contacts, renumbering categories, renumbering clients and timekeepers, and even transaction codes. So we are getting a little more specific in some of these areas. If anybody's done a restore on the data, reversed a write-off, submit log files to STI. That's another thing that maybe you want to check. If somebody synchronized Tabs3 and Practice Master, if they've run that routine. And then Tabs3 customization. If anybody's made any changes in that back office, did they change some client defaults, things like that, you can see that. Whether somebody's run the transfer transactions program. So this is, maybe a whole bunch of fees got transferred to a different matter. We want to know who did that. You can find that out. Who's unbilled statements or undone split billing or undone updated statements, or even who updated statements. These are all important things when something gets changed and data is changed and you're trying to track down, especially this is a good tool for like new hires as well. They do things and they don't realize that they did something. And this is a good training tool that you can say, well, hey, I see that you went in and you did something, and we want to make sure that you have the right procedures in place. So think of it as a training tool as well. And then also write-offs. So I'm just going to leave it all open here for just a moment, just so that we can see everything and how that's going to turn out. We are in sample data, so it's not going to be probably a ton of information, but we'll see what's been going on. So I'm going to print it and I'm going to preview it. So right now I've got everything wide open, all users, all dates, all functions. So I'm seeing who made backups. Here's that backup data, and it's just telling me who and when. So here's the date, the time, the user, and whether it was successful even, and if GLS clients were involved. And then I'm just going to scroll down a little further to get to the next thing that's in here. So there was some installing of updates that was back here. Now, if there's something that happened or a function that nothing happened on, it's not listing it on here. It's not going to have just a blank thing. So if there's just nothing there, it just doesn't print anything. If anybody's logged off users, we can see a couple things here, and even why. Sometimes when we log off users with Platinum, we can see why they did. Somebody was doing file maintenance, so they logged all the users off, or some users may have been reset. So these are the things that were here so far. I've got just a few more pages here. Haven't had anybody advance the reporting month. So I guess I misspoke. It does say, but it says no records found. So there's nothing there. It will list the actual heading, but no records found. So nothing will print, but it will say no records found. So there's all of my list. So here's the client information. This is where I wanted to spend a little bit more time showing you. So we can see that there's been a client, and we can find the client on here, and whether or not it's been changed, added, and then if there is one, I don't know if there is, that's been deleted. There's one. I was going to say usually there is. Here's a couple of clients that we can see were actually deleted. So once a client is deleted from the system, if I were to try to search for that client in the Tabs program over underneath the client, I wouldn't find it. But I could come in here and say, all right, well, it was there. What happened to it? And I can see that the blank user deleted this client ID on this date. So that's a really, really helpful tool when we're dealing with client information. And again, it's not being specific, but I can tell at least that, hey, on this particular matter, something changed. Okay, so that's a really nice one. I'm going to just flip down a little further just to show you a little bit more. A lot of client changes. And again, mine was wide open. You would probably restrict your dates. Here's some more, just who renumbered clients. It's just going to be in this format, so you're going to be able to see all that information that you need to track down changes. So I think that's a pretty useful tool for everyone. Try it, check it out. If you're looking for something specific, you can again limit this a little bit more. And I love that it shows the client IDs. So if you're looking for a specific client, you can always sort through there real quick and say, oh yeah, hey, on this date, this is what happened, and get that history. Huh?
I like that it's tracking final bills and updating and unupdating. Those are important things. Sometimes people don't realize they're printing a final bill and what the ramifications are. And like Mary Jo said, it's a learning experience, a teaching experience, a teaching moment. Don't do this because we can tell that you did it.
Yeah. I think a lot of users don't know that you can tell that they did some things, so they may be hesitant to admit that something happened when, you have a way to come and find out. Right. Yep.
Well, maybe you've heard us do this before where we'll go into help. We'll say, if you want to find out more about this, like maybe we're in fee entry and we'll talk about the yellow question mark. Come on, take me in there. It is now blue. And this is what we get. We get this a lot because when Mary Jo and I do these virtual user group meetings and our other events and our pre-recorded programming, we're using programs that aren't really installed on our machines. They're just in a folder and we're running them straight from that folder. Now, we frequently will go to older installs where people installed it that way and did not run the local install, because the local install is new. What I'm about to show you is new. And they'll get the same thing. And so we want to talk about why it's important to have the local install. Now, first off, what is the local install? And so let me finish this. So you don't get help when you're not running locally. Your help files need to come from a local install. And so it's really important that you have your software installed locally just for that, because the context-sensitive help in Tabs and Practice Master is really wonderful. If you're in the fee screen and you click what used to be the yellow question mark and is now the blue question mark, then you get information specifically about whatever you're in. I would have gotten very useful information about fee entry if I had had this installed locally. So what does that mean? Well, we probably understand that our programs are installed and our data is installed on a server somewhere, and that server is something that everyone has access to. That's why it's there. And that means that I am entering fees, and when Sylvia goes to print the bills, the fees that I entered will be on the bills that Sylvia printed because she's accessing the same data that I'm accessing. So we've got this centralized network drive that we're putting all this stuff on. And if we aren't running from a local install, what that means is that every morning when we come in and load up Practice Master or Tabs, everybody's doing that, and they're all pulling those programs down from the network drive. Now, in a firm of 2 or 3 users, 4 or 5 users, that's not a big deal. But if you have a firm of 60 or 70 or 80 users and they all come in right about 8:30 and they all go to run Practice Master, then that network's really going to slow down when those program files are being pulled down the network cable to get to each user's machine. That's a lot of data traveling across the network at exactly the same time, and that will cause a slowdown. Other reasons to have it installed locally, other than network traffic, your configuration settings are stored locally. So having the programs installed locally puts those in the same place and keeps them in a place where they can be managed by just that user and not affected by anybody else. So How do you do that? Now, just so you can see real quick, I'm going to go into My Practice Master, and I'm going to click on that blue help. And when I'm in My Practice Master, yeah, it should be Tabs. They're just chastising me for, she's not giving me a hard time for not being able to control my screen, but she is for saying Practice Master, so I guess there's that. I get context-sensitive help that talks about the calendar because that's what I'm in, and that's what we need. So how do we get that? Well, first off, I want to disclaim that this is something that should be done by somebody in your firm that has the rights to do it, that has the authority to do it. If you're just a user, you're probably going to want to talk to somebody else about doing this because you probably can't get in here to do this. But if you go to the folder on the network drive where your software and data live, in our system, it's the STI folder, and you find the program called setup.exe and run it, that's all you need to do. That's it. You just need to, from your local machine, connect to this drive that's got the programs, find setup.exe, double click it, and you're on your way. Now, the first thing it asks is, what are you going to install? Now, in my system, I'm going to install all the software and all the modules. But let's say that you have all the software and all the modules, and you're putting this on a user's machine that really just needs to get into Practice Master. Then we would recommend that you uncheck everything except for Practice Master and install just Practice Master locally. Now, Tabs, yeah, Mary Jo, I really do think I'm in Practice Master virtual user group meeting. So we would recommend that you just install Tabs if that user is just supposed to be getting into Tabs. And you'll notice that there is a sub-menu or a subgroup of programs underneath Tabs. So there's Tabs3 itself, there's Taskville, there's the ASCII interface, and there's the device interface. These are just other programs, kind of ancillary programs. If that user, again, is only supposed to be in Tabs, we recommend you only install Tabs. Now, I do want to point out that we have these things called access profiles, and the access profiles determine what each user is entitled to do. So if the user is only allowed to access Tabs and you go ahead and install everything, well, then for all intents and purposes, they can still only get into Tabs, but they may wind up with icons on their desktop or in their program folders under the Start menu that would confuse them because they contain programs that they can't run. So we recommend only installing those. I'm going to go back to having everything checked because I am actually reinstalling this on our system or my local system, and so I don't want to mess up what I'm accessing. Then you say next. It asks where it should put them, and you should always just go with what it suggests because that's just telling it to put them in the same place as all the other program files. Mary Jo's going to click in and say something different.
So if you ever get a prompt after you go, you just leave this directory here and you say okay, and you get a prompt that it's not going to let you put those files in there, that means that you don't have permissions to do so. And so you want to stop at that point, and you'll probably want your IT person to come and do this as an admin so that they can actually load this how it should. We don't want to change the directory where it's going to go or let the program change it for us. If you get any kind of a warning at that point that it won't, it just means you don't have permissions to install programs to this Program 86 folder. Just get your IT person, they can do it as an admin.
It's not telling you that you shouldn't put it there.
No.
It's telling you that you can't put it there.
Exactly.
So as Mary Jo says, you shouldn't say, oh, well, then I'm going to put it somewhere else. That might cause problems. I'm going to say no to creating icons on the desktop. That's your own personal preference. It'll also talk about an Outlook plugin, and yes, you probably do want to install the Outlook plugin. If you don't know, you can say no, because it can always be installed later. So the answer should be yes or no, depending on what you prefer, and if you don't know, it should always be no, because if you choose no and you really do want it, it's easy to get out of later. And finally, it says if you're running this for a second time, it says, hey, we already have these programs here. Do you want me to just replace them in your Start menu? And I'm going to say yes. You won't get this if you're just doing it this first time. It's only after you've installed it and you're rerunning the install routine. And yeah, it can't be used. And then my help file is actually in use by another program, so I'm going to close it. Maybe. I'm just going to tell it to cancel. Well, no, I don't want to do that. There we go. No, it's not bringing up help. And that, yeah, it's help, and help will not come up. So that's all right. We're just going to cancel out and say, yes, we do want exit setup. And there went help also, so that's fine. Let me get out of tabs. So let's do that one more time. A, to see if we can get it to do it right, and B, just to reiterate. We run setup from the network drive where our data is located. We choose whatever programs we want to install, and if you don't know and you are someone who has access to them all, do them all. We let it tell us where to put it, and we accept that. We do or do not create icons on the desktop, just based on our personal preference. And if it does ask if you want to replace program icons, you know, see, here I am with help again. Yeah, there's something else going on, so that's fine. Yeah, it says it's complete, you're done, and then when you go back into Practice Master or Tabs, whichever you're running, and run help, you'll be fine. Yeah, no, that's my alarms. No, never mind. So that's it. That's how you do it. You run setup.exe from the drive and folder where your tabs lives. You get everything installed locally, and it will stay local. It will always run from your local drive. That means it's going to run a little faster. It means there's going to be less network traffic when people come in the morning. It means that you have help, which is important, and that context-sensitive help is an important aspect of using Tabs in Practice Master. And it means that the next time that an update is installed on the network to the programs, when you go to run the software, it'll say, hey, there's a new version, I'm going to pull it down, and it will automatically do that. So you only need to do this once, even though later on there may be an update. That will happen automatically. So do this once, you'll always have access to help, and you'll always have access to the latest programs, and things will run faster.
And I'm just going to add real quick, Paul, that this is not a new thing. This has been out since before version 16. I think it's been out for a while. But you may get it if, let's say that your IT moved the server to a new server or something like that, and then it needs to be reinstalled again. You might get that message and your help goes away for whatever reason. That could be one. If it's a brand new user, that might be something else that they need to get this set up, run on their computer to go ahead and install the program on their computer. That's
or it's your brand new machine.
Yeah, you get a new computer.
And IT didn't know what to do as far as installing tabs. Yep. Well, you can tell them what to do. Okay. Reminder that version 16 is going to be sunsetted, and version 19 is available for pre-release. If you want the 19 pre-release, send me an email and we'll get you in that program. If you want advice about getting upgraded from version 16, send me an email and we'll give you some advice. Next month, we are talking about version 19. It's going to be one of those fast and furious trade-off sessions with me and Mary Jo just passing the mic back and forth and talking about the new functionality and the new features in version 19. And of course, it wouldn't be the same if I didn't take you to our website to explain how you can always have access to this bevy of pertinent information about Tabs and Practice Master and World Docs. It's attorneycomputersystems.com. Notice the emphasis on the last S in the word systems. Without it, you won't get to the right place. If you click on this word videos in the menu bar, you will be taken to a page that describes our 6 different video programs, if you will. 4 of them are live. You happen to be in one of those live events right now, the Tabs3 virtual user group meeting. We also have one for Practice Master and one for World Docs. And we also have our monthly coffee pot webinars where we take products that add value or add-on products to the 3 main products, Tabs3, Practice Master, and World Docs. And we bring in somebody from that company to help us explain what value that product adds and talk about how it's useful in that scenario. We also have our 2 pre-recorded titles. We have Mary Jo's eBytes video series where she will take one really cool thing from Tabs, one from Practice Master, and one from World Docs each month. And these are short. They're 3 or 4 minutes long. So we take something really cool that we've discovered or that we think you should know about that we can explain very quickly and concisely, and we put out an eByte. We also have the Paul and Mary Jo Show. We put out one of those each month where Mary Jo or I will take a broader topic, one that really isn't conducive to the eBite video format, but instead is a little bit broader, and we'll spend 10 or 15 and sometimes 20 minutes going into great depth in a topic like that. And that's why we only put one of those out each month. Remember that these are, if you'll click on one of these, like the Tabs Virtual User Group Meeting, you will find a description of the title. You will find, if it's a live event, information on the next one, along with 2 links to register that really do take you to the same place. It's just that some people like to see what they're clicking on before they click on it. And then we will have information on what that particular live event is about. And then as you scroll down, what you'll find is recorded versions of everything else we've ever done. So this is where we are right now. This is the VUG, the Virtual User Group Meeting that we are in right now, and so it's currently in post-production. But as we scroll down a little further, we find videos that we can click on and watch at will. So these are there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year to be browsed or to be searched. And we invite you to take full advantage. There's about 600-700 videos on our site and growing by about 10 a month. So please take advantage of this and enjoy. Everybody have a good rest of the day, good rest of the month, and we will see you next month. Bye-bye.